CzarThwomp here, and welcome to episode 2 of the Great Ace Attorney Resolve. The Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve. Last time we got started with the game, we learned that basically Susato's childhood friend has been accused of murdering Jezaille, the first killer from the first game, and now basically Susato is pretending to be to be Ryunosuke's cousin so that she can serve as the defense attorney while Ryunosuke is in England. So now we're basically, we heard about the case, we met the witnesses who are sorry. I'm sorry, my name's, okay, yes, Hosonaga and Soseki from the first game, so yes, okay, good. Yeah, my mind was just off. Like I said, I got 3 hours of sleep last night, but basically I'm having fun doing this. Well, you see, I had been asked to take a lecture on the morning of the incident in the Imperial Yumai University's Grand Lecture Hall, no less.
At Yumai University?
After that lecture, I had a very pleasant conversation with a researcher from the medical science department. The professor over there, in fact...
With Professor Mikitoba?
Yes, that's right. It was arranged by one of the newspapers. They wanted some sort of story or other about two former students who'd studied in Great Britain. Of course, being a renowned author, the press never leave me alone. They secretly spy snapshots, scribble stories, and scupper my privacy. As you can see, the conversation was written up in this newspaper here. Read it at your leisure, my provincial struggling student friend. I have plenty of copies.
Thank you very much. He practically threw that paper at me.
The Soseki Natsume article has been entered into the court record. Anyways, following my interview with the professor... Yes, Soseki invented dabbing. He had created the dab. Way back when, at the turn of the century, he invented the dab. Yes, look at the cat. The puffball. Just look at that smile, look at the dab. Yeah, not sure what, yeah, but we go look at the bike. Okay, I'm just seeing what we would be examining here. Okay. The lady in question appeared and made a very unexpected announcement. I should like to go with everyone to see your country's coast. Those were her words. As I explained before, Miss Brett was never taken into custody. She continued to work in my laboratory, under strict surveillance, of course. I wasn't gonna let her kill my ass. She wasn't gonna carray my ass next.
At which utterance, the university immediately contacted the government to seek guidance. And the response was, permit Miss Brett to go as long as a detective accompanies her. And that was when I started plotting ways to kill her. Of course, they all failed. She was too quick for my wits. I tried to throw a rock at her, she dodged the rock. I tried to step some TNT below her chair. She did not stay in the chair. I tried to bludgeon her with my turtle, but the turtle's shell was not strong enough. That detective I am at the liberty to divulge was me, Chief Inspector Satoru Hosonaga, and my turtle. I will name him Snappy. Thereby, the entire party departed cordially from the seaside, it seems. It was extremely challenging to clear all other members of the public from the vicinity of the beach. I had to throw turtles at them. I had a giant tub full of turtles, which I proceeded to throw at the people, then as they ran and screamed in terror. But fortunately, I am at peak physical fitness at the moment, so I coughed my blood on them. I coughed up my consumption upon them. I was able to carry out my duties flawlessly. Oh my, Inspector, you do have something on your face now. Ah, how unsettling. I do apologize.
Does
that mean that you went to the beach too, Father?
No, fortunately I had work to finish off. Yeah, fortunately I didn't have to get drawn into this mess. I was clear. Unfortunately, of course, it meant that, as my assistant, Ray was invited to take my place. Of course, being a renowned author, I didn't like like to decline the invitation. Ah! But if only I had! I'd never seen that awful sight! Relentlessly wrecked by remorse and regret! Very well, I must now ask you to present your formal testimony to the court. You will give an account of all that you would witness on your impromptu excursion to the coast.
Of course, Your Excellency.
Relentlessly racked by remorse and regret, I am. Oh great, the twitch is back. Next, the nightmares will follow. Oh great, now Holmes is going to appear in my mind again. And then Saseki's going to have a nightmare later that night in which basically he's walking down the streets of London and Sherlock, who's dressed as Freddy Krueger. Ah, hello there, P. I have returned. You're going back to jail. I've done the dance of deduction and you will not escape me. No! And then Saseki's just right down the street while Sherlock is just spinning like a top after him. You can't escape!
On that day of the incident, I was ordered on a special surveillance assignment in this disguise.
I just managed to catch that crab when I suddenly heard a counterwolf from behind me.
I ran into the beach hut at once, where I found the pair in question. And I started cheering. I broke open a bottle of whiskey of wine that I had been saving for just such an occasion. And I was celebrating. I started singing, "Celebrate good times, come on." Oh, I will.
Yes, that young girl was astride the English one, tack in hand, as she stabbed wildly.
I saw blood on the blade. It proved to me that she'd stabbed the victim multiple times.
Thankfully, this is a pretty easy one. Indeed, it does appear from this testimony that both witnesses have your presence on the very moment of this heinous crime.
What? Now, if you will recall, I promised evidence as well. What phrase I used again? Ah, yes, that was it. Damning evidence.
What have you there, counsel? A so-called fountain pen, is it?
Correct, Your Excellency. I found it at the scene whilst examining the body. It appears that in her dying moments, with her final ounce of strength, the victim clutched a piece of evidence that would positively identify her killer. What? Your Excellency, if you would cast your eyes over the photographic print of the crime scene once more.
Ah, goodness me.
Yeah.
Yes, the victim is clearly grasping something quite deliberately in her hand.
That's right, the fountain pen. Going to destroy that evidence, good? Yeah. And if you would kindly examine the pen, Your Excellency.
Ah, yours initials have been engraved in the ebonite barrel. R.M. Ray Mbambi, the initials of the defendant.
Ah, no!
This fountain pen will be admitted immediately as critical evidence. The fountain pen has been entered into the court record.
So, have I admitted anything? Decisive testimony and damning evidence. There's a bright blue sky outside the courtroom today. I will now sing my song. Zippity-doo-dah, zippity-day. Oh my, what a wonderful day. I defeated this yokel in court. So now my course will be cut very short. Perfect weather to ascribe guilt, I believe. I don't understand. The prosecutor Ouchie of 9 months ago had none of this man's pose. Level 2 Ouchie! This is my level 2 form!
Counsel for the defense, you may begin your cross-examination now. Naruto-san!
Naruto. That means... Oh, yes, me.
Is there any other Naruto in my courtroom?
Actually, there isn't even a single Naruto in your courtroom.
Cousin Ryutaru, pull yourself together, please.
All right, I've seen this countless times as a judicial assistant. Find inconsistencies in the witness testimony to prove that they're lying somehow. That's all there is to it. That's how a real lawyer would handle cross-examination. So let's see what I can do.
Cross-examination time. I want to hear about the disguise.
Hold it!
In that jaunty disguise? Correct. Wait, no. I mean, it wasn't the first time I've worn this swimsuit for a dip in the ocean. It's tried and tested. Do what must be done to keep the English woman under surveillance. Those were my orders that day. I threw a turtle at her. What more could I have done? And this tried and tested outfit was the answer? I would try to make her warm for my form. Being able to blend flawlessly into a crowd is an important part of a detective's job. And then, meanwhile, every detective in the main series of this game, besides Gumshoe, just it stands out. We have Jake Marshall, the cowboy detective. We have Emma, the grumpy the scientific investigator, who goes around wearing her lab coat, munching on snackoos. And oh yeah, and we also had Bobby Fulbright, aka basically Justice. And then even in this game, we have Sherlock Holmes, who's basically anything but blending in flawlessly. Sherlock owns the crowd. The turtle is mine. I submerged myself in the salty water, leaving only Mr. Turtle floating inconspicuously on the surface. Snappy was my eyes and my ears. I would lurk. Mr. Turtle loves the water. Meanwhile, Mr. Turtle looks like he wants to die. Like, Mr. Turtle, please kill me now. Kill me now, please. But there was no need for you to blend into the background on this assignment, really. Was there?
If that made your late arriving on the scene, I think perhaps you had your priorities wrong.
They can't cut my pay if they can't find me. Ahem, ahem. Perhaps I shouldn't pursue this line of questioning any further at the moment.
Okay. Basically, what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to take down Hosonaga by just telling him, oh hey, multiple stab wounds. Single stab wound.
Objection!
There we go.
With that accusatory cry that just welled up from deep within me, I think I finally understand. Every time Kazuma-sama or Naruto-san have stood here at this bench, the stakes have been very, very high indeed. What's the meaning of this menacing pose, Counsel? I'd like the witness to clarify something for me.
Who? What? Where? When? Whoa!
Not you, Soseki-san. This query is directed at Inspector Hosonaga. At me? In your statement just now, you said that the victim was stabbed multiple times. Yes, that's right. As I said when I entered the house. The defendant was already standing over the victim, bloody knife in hand, like a murderous demon. And yet, that cannot be. What?
Get to the point, Counsel.
In the post-mortem report, it clearly states that the victim was stabbed one time only.
Oh!
Don't you cough around me! You cough when I say you can cough! In other words, Inspector Hosanaga's testimony is clearly flawed. Ah! And Soseki-san!
Me?
You claimed to see Mabi-san in the throes of stabbing the victim.
Yes, I did! Wildly!
But both you and the inspector confirmed the same point, that there was already blood on the knife that you saw the defendant holding. Yes, and it's quite simple. We know the murder weapon was used to stab the victim only once. Therefore, There is no way there could have been blood on the knife if that single stabbing hadn't already occurred.
True! Then what exactly is your contention, Counsel? Are you even going to tell us?
Yes, Your Excellency, there's only one logical conclusion. What Soseki-san in fact saw was not the moment that the defendant stabbed the victim at all, but the moment that the defendant in fact withdrew the blade from the victim's body.
That can't be! Excellent work, Susanoo. You exploded at them with that objection and then proceeded to pull them apart systematically.
Objection!
Ha ha! Well, this takes me back. Yes, I seem to remember your cousin staged a scene much like this in that trial 9 months ago, when he spouted lies against my queen. A half-witted child with a half-baked objection, attempting to steal the show.
You're right, there were certain similarities. Except that so-called half-witted child matched out with the prosecution, who has only half a head of hair.
Slander! My head is quite adequately dressed! You're just jealous that I have a mane that cannot be tamed! In any case, all this talk of stabbing and withdrawing and multiple wounds, it makes not a jot of difference! What? Why not? Engage your brain, young man! When the accused first plunged the deadly weapon to the victim, that was the fatal blow. And it was at that moment, just as she had withdrawn the blade, ready for a next strike, that the witness saw. The knife was already tainted with blood because the accused had already stabbed the victim. All you have successfully shown with your little display is that the mustached author is prone to moments of extravagance.
I am in agreement with the prosecution. If the defendant was seen wielding that blade at all, that is sufficient grounds for her actions to be viewed with suspicion.
But if she was withdrawing the blade, then we are back where we started. Sorry. Consider this, young yokel boy. If the student girl is innocent as you claim, then why would she have pulled the blade from the victim? And with a demon's cold-blooded composure, too! The prosecution demands an explanation, and it better be a good one! Why did Ray pull out that knife?
Ah, yes, going for the jugular.
What does father mean by that?
Let the court hear your answer then, counsel.
The truth is, I don't really know. But I have to come up with a plausible reason here, or we don't have a case. The reason why the defendant pulled the knife blade out of the victim's body was surely so she could...
I know that it is save her life, but frankly, I'll say stab again, just to see what it is. See how we get that one.
Well, this is only one possible answer, but could that been so she could stab the victim again?
Pardon?
Isn't that there's a saying, if someone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to him the left also?
Ryotaro! What are you saying? Or rather, what are you doing? Do you realize what hole you're digging?
It must have been the pressure of being here. I'm starting to say things I don't mean. I'm becoming Ryanosuke! Quite a sharp slap in the face for the woman you represent. You yokels and your heavy-handed ways. No, I didn't. That was just an example. I'm here using. I didn't mean what. That's what happened.
I suggest you take a moment to consider your answer next time before you speak, counsel.
Yes, Your Excellency. Thank you for allowing me another chance.
Okay, save her life.
According to the post-mortem report, the victim's death was not instant. That's correct. It's thought she would have remained conscious for a short while after sustaining the injury, at which point I would have finished her off by bludgeoning her with Mr. Turtle. I would have got in there. She would have been dead. Jezaille Brett would have been on the ground, gasping for air, begging me for mercy. But there would be no mercy. Oh no. She'd shamed me in my own courtroom, in my own dojo. So I would go up to her, and I would calmly say, "No mercy for you." And then I would proceed to bludgeon her to death with Mr. Turtle. But I was beaten to the punch. Indeed, giving her the time to take hold of this piece of evidence that clearly indicates her killer. The point is, being a medical research assistant, Mamami-san was compelled to act when faced with the wounded victim. Instinctively, she pulled the blade out in an attempt to save Miss Brett's life. Tish, ha ha! Did you hear that, Your Excellency? It would seem that this is the best we can expect of this young yokel.
Indeed.
I bumped my mic. Is it just me, or does it suddenly feel much colder in here? Your Excellency, if I may, this Yuma University student thinks they're better than me. We shall duke it out now. Mr. Turtle will be on my team.
Speak, witness.
I would like another opportunity to testify. In respect to the slipshod assertion just put forward by the Yokel Defense Council, I mean. Slipshod? Yokel? Tish, ha ha! An excellent idea, Inspector. Our young yokel hopefully has a modicum of knowledge when it comes to the law, it seems. But in matters of medicine, he appears to possess not one iota of common sense.
Very well, Inspector. I will permit your request. You will testify again before the court on the subject of the Defense Council's assertion.
Yes, sir. I will do so flawlessly. Pulling a blade from a wound without thinking could cause heavy bleeding. That's basic knowledge any medical research assistant with an ounce of sense ought to know. In other words, there's no good reason why the defendant would have tried to pull the knife from the victim. But don't forget that the young student did have a motive for killing the victim. The man in the victim murder 9 months ago, Dr. Wilson, was the defendant's highly respected mentor. Is what you just said true, Inspector? Could pulling a knife from a wound really cause a wound to bleed heavily? Yes. Think of the weapon itself as a stopper of the wound that prevents excessive blood loss. Until a doctor is ready to provide proper treatment, that stopper shouldn't be removed. Oh, I see. Ha! This is why yokels should stay on the farm! Even a quack from some obscure man village would have such basic knowledge. Anyone who's ever given someone a little poke with a knife and pulled it out again knows it all! Oh? Well, I've never stabbed anyone, you see, or pulled a blade out of a wound, so...
Of course you haven't. I didn't bring you up to behave like a bandit. You use poison like a gentlewoman.
Father, is it true, what they're telling me?
Yes, it's basic remedial knowledge for medics. Ray would have been well aware of it. If she were to claim ignorance of such fundamentals, that would prove fatal in many ways.
But then, why would Ray have done it? Could she have pulled out the knife in full knowledge that it would be fatal for Miss Brett?
I don't know.
Ray never once mentioned anything about the knife to me. It seems almost impossible to believe, but could my friend actually have?
Susato!
Yes?
Pull yourself together. We mustn't lose sight of why we're here.
Ah!
Counsel, it's time for your cross-examination.
Oh, yes, Your Excellency.
However, I must warn you that if your cross-examination fails to identify any issue with the established facts, I will be moving to my education immediately afterwards.
I understand. Believing in your clients and fighting for their cause until the bitter end. I knew it would be hard, but I had no idea it would be this hard. Cross-examination time. Okay, let's see. Okay. I think this is just going to be a standard, oh hey, we just got to press everything. Okay, yeah, we'll start pressing.
Hold it!
You say doing it without thinking could be a problem. Does that mean if you use due care and attention it would be alright? I wouldn't have thought this needed spelling out, but the blade is like a stopper on the wound. Remove it and a serious hemorrhaging will occur. In other words, a medic would need to be present before any attempt was made to withdraw the blade. Doing it without thinking would be madness. You just can't do it. Oh well, thank you for such a thorough explanation. You see, Counsel, when you act without thinking, the result is a bloodbath. Look at this case!
Back to the witness testimony, please.
Hold it!
In that case, there's an obvious explanation here. Which is... clearly, the defendant, Rei Mamambi-san, does not possess an ounce of sense! What do you think about that, Professor Mikatoba?
I'm not sure that you should be labeling your best friend as lacking in common sense.
Well, I thought it would be better than labeling her as a murderer. I don't know, young people today. If that's friendship, I don't understand it.
Careful, Counsel. A lack of common sense can be a very dangerous thing. In which case, yeah, I can just imagine Phoenix says a Back to the Future sort of thing. He goes back to this courtroom, and then Phoenix just feels like his life is in danger.
Oh dear, that recoiled on me rather badly.
That's life, I'm afraid. A lesson everyone must learn.
Hopefully you can see now that this is really basic medical knowledge. Being involved in medical research, Mamami-san would certainly have been well aware of it.
Hold it!
But the defendant had suddenly encountered somebody she knew lying on the ground, bleeding to death. The sight could have shocked her delicate sensibilities, causing her to remove the blade inadvertently. I really don't think inadvertent actions can explain this. The woman is a medical research assistant. I can't imagine she would behave so irrationally. Oh, but irrational behavior is a woman's prerogative, isn't it? Oh dear, you have a lot to learn about women. Allow me to introduce... Well then, allow me, Mr. Ryutaro, to show you to my subreddit. As you can see, I happen to don't worry, I managed to moderate a Discord server as well as a subreddit dedicated to just such a topic. Don't worry, I'll teach you all about why women do not like me because they are intimidated by me. You see, I am what is called a Sigma male, and I am a gamer. As you probably know, gamers are an oppressed people. We are not respected by society. Women do not treat us as people. They treat us as objects, as animals. And as such, we are doomed to forever be outcasts in society. Only when us gamers finally rise up and take control of the world, take our rightful place as rulers of this realm, will things change. And I will finally get a female specimen to accept my offers to copulate. Only a small-minded man could have such bigoted views. Oh dear, perhaps I'm letting my male persona take a hold of me a little too much. Oh no, I'm getting red-pilled! Well, have I managed to convey the basics now? That should cover the medical side of the argument. Now for the other topic at hand. Your induction to become a supreme gentleman.
Hosonaga. Incel Hosonaga is now a thing.
Whatever the motive, it just isn't Mamami-san's nature to do something so awful. But she had both motive and opportunity. That's very hard to argue against. But you don't know the defendant. And you, counsel, do not appear to know the law. Yes, evidence is the only way to convince the court of your argument, not feelings. This isn't dual destinies, Mr. Naruto. This is not dual destinies. You can't just start a therapy session in the middle of court. And then basically, meanwhile, Athena, she's doing a case. And then suddenly, she just freezes up.
Athena, what's wrong?
I don't know, Apollo. I'm feeling a disturbance. As if some spirit from beyond doesn't want me doing this. With this fledgling defender, I would almost say I pity the accused. So do I.
Inspector, you will reiterate your point about the defense motive, please.
Yes. Miss Brett was in many ways the sworn enemy of Mamambi-san, as well as myself. In fact, I am partially upset that I feel betrayed that Mamambi-san had not agreed to had not talked to me. I would have definitely helped her out. For one thing, Miss Brett destroyed my evidence on that day. She ruined my day. And then, before the trial, she refused to go out with me. She refused to accept my offers of dating me. She said I was not good enough. And I said to her, screw you. I am a Sigma male.
Okay, let's do this.
Hold it!
Well, yes, that's true. Dr. Wilson recognized Mamami-san's talent and offered her the position of assistant despite her being a woman. She was extremely grateful to him. Yes, the Englishman appears to have been a very broad-minded individual. But did he know about the turtle?
Dr. Wilson had no time for outdated traditions. He knew what was going on in the UK. He knew that little girl was running things. He knew about what Iris was doing. Yeah, meanwhile, basically, Wilson, he remembered basically how Iris walks the streets.
Hello there! Are you gonna pay arms and protection money? Are you gonna subscribe to Rand's magazine?
Oh, please! I don't want to subscribe to Ron's magazine. I really don't feel a need to.
You subscribe for Wormsy's wonderful stories.
He met with the opposition, of course. But he believed firmly in Mamambi-san's abilities.
Clearly, the defendant was in the man's debt, which only serves to prove my points. This is hopeless. I can't find a single crack in this testimony anywhere. If Ray knew that withdrawing the knife from the wound would hasten Miss Brett's life further, I just can't think of any way to explain why she did it.
Susano, it's at times like these when it's especially important to remember the fundamentals.
The fundamentals?
Evidence is what counts in the courtroom, isn't it?
Of course, but I've been through the court record dozens of times already.
I think perhaps you're forgetting something, though. You need to take the evidence at face value. You can and must examine it in greater detail, too.
Ah!
I realize that this is your first time playing the role of a lawyer in the courtroom. So if you need reminding of the events, you only need to ask. I'll do my very best to help.
Examine the evidence in the court record. It's an idea, certainly. What should I do?
I know what to do. After all, Susano was with Naruto the entirety for a good chunk of the last game. She saw it in action.
Come to think of it, Kazuma-sama and Naruto-sama were always turning evidence over and over in their hands. Yes, I need to examine things in great detail with A.
Ah, by the look in your eyes, I see it's coming back to you. Go through the court record again and have a thorough look at everything. You made my great clue.
Yes, I'll do it straight away.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay.
Okay, label.
There's some sort of emblem here, look. But isn't it a Yuma University one?
It must belong to some other organization, I suppose, a business of some kind. But it would seem to imply that the pen itself doesn't belong to Ray. Yes, it's updated evidence.
If we take off the pen's lid...
Okay.
Now let's unscrew the barrel, shall we? This must be the little reservoir that holds the ink.
Yes, you fill it up by drawing it from a bottle up through the nib.
Is something wrong, Father?
Just that there doesn't appear to be any ink in there. That's all.
Oh yes, you're right. It's pretty much empty. Well, it could be on the verge of running out, I suppose.
Let's check the newspaper.
This is the new newspaper from Saseki-san. There seems to be an important article on the back page as well. Exclusive, deadly poison stolen from Umai Medical Research Laboratory. From Umai's Medical Research. Father, isn't that your lab?
What the? Let me see that. The poison's been stolen?
It's this morning's paper that Saseki-san gave us. Are you saying you didn't know?
As embarrassing as it is for the head of the laboratory, I didn't. I've not heard of such a thing. Where on earth could the reporter have gained this information?
Come to think of it, there was no article mentioning the story in our paper this morning, was there?
It's a highly toxic poison we've been working on the strictest confidence. I'd put Ray in charge of the project.
Ray? She was managing it?
If that was what's written here is true, it means that she tried to hide the theft from me. And moreover, the details were leaked somehow.
I don't believe it.
We need to read this article very carefully.
Okay, we can examine this photo. Okay. Okay, looking through. Okay, let me just check to see. Okay. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think. Only blade from a wound, cause heavy bleeding. Basic knowledge. Okay, no good reason why the defendant would have tried to pull the knife out. Okay, no motive. And respected individual. Okay. Okay, mouth wound could cause or via the mouth. Okay, current methods cannot detect the newly developed chemical. Okay. Okay, I'm just looking through this. Okay, poison article. Okay. Ah, maybe.
Objection!
Okay, yay, we got it.
Now, there is one possibility, one very good reason why the defendant might have tried to withdraw the knife from the victim's body. What? Ha! The yokel not only has a poor grasp of law, but is also a poor loser! There's only room for one sore loser in this court, it's me! Tell us then, what possibility do you think you've identified? It's here, in this newspaper article. An article about deadly poisons that have been stolen from a laboratory at the Imperial Umai
Objection!
The victim perished from a stab wound. Poison has no relevance in this case. But
Oscar Ouchie, you will let the defendant speak.
But the newspaper article, the court cannot rely on this kind of heresy those wretched publications carry.
Counsel for the defense. I am going to need some tangible basis for your claim. You will indicate to the court precisely what part of the newspaper article affirms your assertion.
Your Excellency! Yes, of course. Thank you. Ray would never have done something to further endanger Miss Brett's life without just cause. The reason why the defendant pulled the knife from the victim's body is explained in this article here, where it says...
Okay, I just want to verify. Okay. Okay, I'm just looking through. Deadliest in the tiniest of quantities. Deadliest in the tiniest of quantities.
The article reveals the following property about the poison in question. When the toxin enters the body on a knife laced with the poison, it's rapidly absorbed and causes death in minutes. Are you suggesting? If the knife used to attack Miss Brett was laced with this very poison, it would explain why the defendant, Mamabi-san, would have withdrawn the blades as soon as possible. Yes, the truth is, it was an attempt to stop the poison from entering the victim's body. What?
Objection!
This is complete utter nonsense! Not at all. The defendant withdrew the knife blade from the victim's body not to accelerate the woman's demise, but to save her life. And the prosecution cannot deny the possibility. Have you not read the post-mortem report? The cause of death was hemorrhaging. The word poison appears nowhere in the document. Well, that's because by acting quickly to remove the blade, the defendant prevented the poison from taking hold.
Objection!
Oh, please, this is clearly desperation. The weasel's last breaking of wind. Poison has nothing to do whatsoever with this case, as I believe the defense is well aware. We have no proof that the information in this wretched newspaper article is at all reliable anyways.
In that situation, what the student should have done is wait for medical assistance to arrive. But instead, you claim she suspected poisoning and took the potentially lethal decision to remove the blade. She must have had a strong reason for her suspicions then, or the argument makes no sense.
Exactly! Well put, Inspector! What grounds did you do it, yokel?
We'll answer that next time. Anyways, I really appreciate that you took around to watch this episode. You're a great viewer and hope you come back for the next one. If you like the video, like, subscribe, comment, share, do as they want. I'll see you next time. Bye.